Casa Bonita. Food, fun, and a festive atmosphere. For a place that brings so much joy, why would anybody want to speedrun it? Well, why does anybody speedrun anything?
Oh my god!
Competition. The first version of Casa Bonita opened in 1968 in Oklahoma City, but it wasn't until the 1974 Lakewood, Colorado patch that opened up the greater audience to the world of speedrunning. The 100% category for Casa Bonita consists of a few segments. To start, patrons must eat 4 crunchy tacos, 2 enchiladas, 2 burritos, and 1 round of the famous sopapillas. After that, runners then head to Black Bart's cave, finding their way through the labyrinth to the level exit. Then they'll progress to the waterfall, getting a small break while they wait for the cliff diver to perform their stunt, and they get their picture taken in old western clothes. Next, they have to sit through the dreaded unskippable puppet show play, but once that happens, they end with the most technical part of the run, dancing with the mariachi band. And this is where runs come to die. One false step and it's at least a 3-minute setback for the band's cycle to reset. Much like other games' speedruns, the earliest Casa Bonita runs were self-reported, and most of the recordings were shoddy at best. The first reported completion was by a trio of runners, Doug Kirby, Ken Smith, and Mike Wilkins, who had been competing in other restaurant runs throughout the US, and posted their first completed run in the 1992 edition of New Roadside America. But it would take another 10 years for that record to be broken, this time by Molly Martin of Westward. By 2003, her record would fall to an anonymous runner, but the run wasn't archived, so we can really only postulate what improvements they had. By this point, the run had very little breakthroughs, instead relying on better movement for quicker level completion. But later that same year, everything would change. One runner had been making waves in the Casa Bonita scene for a few years, holding the record for both the consuming 5 orders of sopapillas and the bathroom exploder percent runs, which are exactly what they sound like. And that man? That boy? Was Eric Cartman. Eric Cartman hadn't run the 100% category before 2003, but when he learned that his friend Kyle's birthday would be held there, he knew this could be his next step. Kyle Broflovsky, Stan Marsh, and Kenny McCormick would all be going for the gold. However, he was dealt a huge blow to his hopes. He wasn't invited.
I'm not inviting you, Cartman. You can't go. No! No!
Instead, young Leopold Butters Stotch would take his place instead, and the 4 boys would attend later that week. But for Eric Cartman, no simply wasn't an option. He did everything he could do to get his chance, including making Butters think that the world had ended, leaving Kyle no choice but to substitute Cartman in. In the lead up, Cartman had practiced the run countless times in his head, saving every bit of time that he could, but nothing could prepare him for what was about to happen. Once they arrived at Casa Bonita, Kyle's mother Sheila received the call. Butters had been found, and told on Eric. The police were on their way, and he'd be arrested soon after. Speedrunners typically do thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of runs to even get their personal best. Cartman hasn't even attempted the run once. But it was now, or never. To begin the record run, Eric ran straight in, getting both the waitlist skip and the server skip, saving upwards of an hour, while nearly completing the food consumption portion of the run. But he did get a bit unlucky with the table not having a plate of sopapillas, a 1 in 5 chance. But he can circle back to this later in the run, taking a slight time loss. Then, he made a beeline for Black Bart's cave, following the handy guide for the maze, making it through with the gold split. Typically in runs, next up would be the cliff divers, but something about this run was different. See, the cliff divers work on a sequence, like any of the Mario games would. Every 15 minutes, a diver would perform their stunt, and if you miss it, you lose a lot of time. Eric had a little buffer to the next one, and performed a sequence break. He completed the mariachi portion way ahead of where it was intended to have been done. Since it was on the way to the cliffs, he saved even more time. As Cartman arrives at the cliffs, he goes for a new trick, the taunt. This was previously only thought to have been possible in the tool-assisted speedrun, or TAS, of the category, but Eric decides to go for it. At this specific point in the run, hitting a taunt in a 2-frame window will trigger the diver to jump sooner. naturally called the quick dive. At first, he doesn't get the taunt, but on the second try of the trick, he nails it. As his friends in the police enter, he has to hurry over to the photo booth for his picture. He does lose a bit of time changing into the cowboy costume, but did get some good RNG with the perfect cheese on the first cycle. On his way to the puppet show, he finds the opportunity to get his sopapillas, performing the server call, pulling the flag down to get the waitress to bring the delicacy. In years prior, the puppet show was typically a place for runners to take a break from the frantic pace, sitting down to enjoy nice play. But for Eric Cartman, with the police closing in, a break wasn't an option. He runs over, crossing the bridge which loads the next level. Once he touches ground on the other side, he hits the checkpoint, and quickly hits the turn to escape. Here he does get a bit frazzled, nearly running into his friends before running up the cliffs. Before he's captured by police, he dives into the water below, completing the world record run in 1 minute and 4 seconds, absolutely shattering the previous records. Through hard work and determination, Eric Cartman reached his speedrunning magnum opus. He sacrificed so much to reach this point, but was it really worth it in the end?
Totally.
And that's where the record stands. In the years since, the speedrunning community for the category hit a bit of a snag when Casa Bonita had to close during the COVID-19 pandemic, with the owner filing for bankruptcy soon after. However, in a new development, the restaurant was saved when it was purchased and renovated by 2 local Coloradans, and lifelong fans of the beloved restaurant, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, renowned creators of the classic animated television show, South Park. Happy April, you fools! Thank you for watching.